Good evening, everyone. This regular meeting of the Mayor and Council for May 17, 2022 is now called to order, time 6:30 p.m. Roll call, all council members are present. Please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance followed by an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, will you lead us in prayer?
Well, Heavenly Father, we come to you this day as humble as we know how. Heavenly Father, we come to ask you to be in the midst of this meeting, to help us conduct as you want us to conduct. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. All right, I do have a few announcements to make concerning upcoming meetings. Municipal Court, May 18 at 1 p.m. in our community room. The Planning Commission meets May 24th at 6 p.m. also in the community room. Our council called meeting is on May 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the community room. Tree Board meeting, May 26th, 6 p.m. community room. Council work session, June 2nd, 6:30 p.m. in the community room. The Downtown Development Authority of Social Circle meets June 9th at 9 a.m. in the Welcome Center. Main Street Commission meets June 14th, 8 a.m. in the community room. Historic Preservation Commission meets June 14th at 6 p.m. in the community room. Municipal Court, June 15, 1 p.m. community room. And our next council meeting, June 21, 6:30 p.m. in the community room. First off, we have presentations and we have employee introduction and recognition.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce to y'all my newest officer, Officer Maurice Williams. Maurice married, 2 kids. I got it right. 44 years old and been in the police for about 11 years. So, young thing wants to
I'm glad to be here, and it's been a real honor this work.
come to us from Conyers, Rockdale.
Thank you, Maurice. Welcome to Social Circle.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service. Anyone else?
Well, that's it for tonight.
All right. Next item is the downtown rundown.
Good evening. First on my rundown for tonight is our summer concert series. Main Street kicked off the summer concert series this past Friday night with the Simply Awesome Band in Friendship Park. The concert was well attended despite the rain that we got right before it started. The next concert will be June 10th from 6 to 8, and that will be featuring Chris, John, and Scott. Our next, Coffee and Conversations for this month will actually be on June the 1st at 8:30 a.m. That will be held at So Crazy Alterations. That's one of our newest businesses downtown. They're located in the old Barbed Wire and Lace building. Holly Rudder is the owner, and she's looking forward to hosting that for us for this month. Next on my list is the Independence Day celebration. The annual Independence Day celebration will include a parade this year for the first time in 3 years. The parade will take place at 5 p.m. and will run the short route through downtown. The event will be held behind the middle school, high school area where the Rotary Fair used to take place. After the parade, we'll have live music, food, vendors, and more set up from 6 to 9:30. And then we'll end the night with our fireworks show, which will start at 9:45. Vendor applications and parade applications are on the website, as well as available at the Welcome Center for anyone that's interested. Memorial Day preparations are underway. We have the Ride for America that usually comes through town every year, so they're going to be coming through on Monday, May 30th on Memorial Day. The American Legion is providing Main Street with new flags, and they're going to be in by the end of this week. So I've made plans to put up all the flags in downtown next Monday. The Legion is also hosting a flag retirement ceremony. So anyone that has flags that they would like to turn in for that, they can bring them to the Welcome Center. Their ceremony will be Sunday, May 29th at 5 p.m. at the Methodist Church for anyone that's interested. The American Legion is also going to be putting flags on all the veterans' graves at both of the city cemeteries. And the weekend before Memorial Day, they'll put their crosses up in front of the Methodist Church, and this year they're actually going to put some out at Veterans Memorial Park as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amber. Any questions? Thank you. All right, next up we have citizens' requests. I'm not aware of any. Are there any council requests?
Just going back to when, I guess, because Steve knows that when we have holidays, let's make sure we extra clean up the graveyards and cut and manicure.
Nope.
All right, next up we have agenda approval, and I believe we have some amendments to the budget.
Yep, I'd like to amend the agenda and add consideration of a resolution to extend the moratorium on the permits for signs. The next one would be, well, that would be item A1A. The next item would be item A2, authorization for a voting delegate for the GMA convention. And then I'd like to switch item 3 and 4. Item 3 will be the budget discussion, and item 4 will be the budget public hearing.
We have a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone opposed to that or further discussion?
That's all under new business, right?
It's all in the new business.
New business. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I'm sorry,
passed.
I didn't catch the second.
Steve.
Steve.
Tyson is the motion.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have financial statements.
Okay, so we are in our 10th month of the year with our April financial statements. At that point, we should be around 83%. Our revenue's at 94% in general fund, same place last year. Our expenses are at 79%, 56% capital, 79% operating. We were at the same spot last year. Our water fund is at 52% revenue. Of that, 7% is Gifa funding. 62% is operational revenue. This time last year, we were at 64%. Our expenses are at 48%. Of that, 27 is Gifa, or capital, I'm sorry, and then 72 is operating. This time last year, we were at 74. In gas, we are at 104% of our revenue. This time last year, we were at 76. Our expenses are at 99% overall. Of that, 71% is capital and 102% is operating. And this time last year, we were at 83%. For solid waste, we are at 89% revenue. This time last year, 84. Our expenses are at 78, and this time last year, they were at 73. Y'all have any questions? Just to clarify for the gas, the reason why the revenue and expenses are higher than what was budgeted is because more gas was purchased for resale and sold than we anticipated. So that's good.
Thank you. Any questions for Jennifer? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial statement.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Mr. Taylor, will you lead us through that?
Certainly, Mayor.
We have eight items on the consent agenda for this evening. We have the minutes of the Mayor and Council meeting of April 19th, 2022. We have the executive session minutes of April 19th, 2022. We have the minutes of the mayor and council work session of May 11th, 2022. And we have consideration of a bid award for City Hall video surveillance and card access systems. We'll be awarding the bid to Premier Security Systems Incorporated in the amount of $14,198.76. We have consideration of the bid award for the Welcome Center roof. This will be going to Barrel Roofing, in the amount of $21,758.38. We have consideration of the engineering services agreement with Trustees Engineering. This just codifies the relationship we have with them already in terms of design expectations for the wastewater treatment plant. Honestly, it probably should have been done several years ago, and Trustees did not bring it to our attention until within the last week or two. And we also have a acceptance of the Walton County Healthcare Foundation Fire Department for fire department equipment. The Walton County Healthcare Foundation is generously giving us $60,121.58 to go towards capital equipment for the fire department. And we also have a correction to the minutes of February 15th, 2022. I believe this is to correct an issue related to appointments to the Main Street Board.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Was Barrel the only person that filled out
Yep,
that?
they were the only ones we advertised.
Yeah, I see the bid sheet and everything.
Yep, they were the only ones who submitted.
Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Before we move on from there, Mr. Zadell, will you come to the podium, please? I would like to publicly thank you for going after that grant, the grant dollars. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was somewhere around $62,000 as I recall. And thanks for doing that. You know that anything we can do like that certainly helps us reduce our budget and spend money in other places where it's appropriate to spend. So thank you very much for your effort.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have old business. There is a item on here, consideration of board appointments. Not mandated that we do so tonight. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to consider appointments. We have two boards that have yet to have someone appointed to them. So the floor is open for any appointments you would like to make.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Angela Griswell to the library board.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Angie Griswell to the library board. Is there a second?
Did we have an application on there?
We do.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which district is she in?
She's in District 2. She's in Tyson's district. Asking again for a second to the motion. Hearing none, motion fails for lack of a second. Any other consideration for board appointments? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1 is consideration of a resolution to extend the temporary moratorium for rezoning for residential zoning classes.
I believe, was item 1A, was that for the sign ordinance?
Right. So this is 1, and then 1A would be
Okay,
for the...
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So yes, so the residential zoning moratorium is due to expire at the end of May. Recommending that we extend that to August 31st, 2022 or until the time in which the ordinance is modified, whichever comes earlier.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion, was that you, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Motion from Steve, second from Teresa. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1A, which was added, is consideration of a resolution to extend the temporary moratorium on the accepting of applications for permits for certain signs.
So this moratorium actually expired on April the 30th. The zoning code is still being considered under rewrite, and we recommend extending this moratorium until August 31st, 2022, or at the point at which the ordinance is modified, whichever comes first.
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Teresa, a second from Steve. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2 is an authorization of a voting delegate for GMA election of District 5 officers for 22 and 23.
That would be a council decision.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be there all week to go to that? You and Ty?
When is it?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, this is one that's voted on outside of the convention. This is one that's, the mayor has the slate there, but we just send in the ballot.
Okay.
The one's coming up at 2A is going to be the one that's.
Yeah, there are two different ones. There's one for the convention itself at the business meeting, annual business meeting, and there's a separate one
Okay, I see it.
for District 5 officers. I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. I'm honored to be elected as the first vice president on here. The president's John Howard, mayor of City Monroe. Second vice, Paul Walton, mayor of Hull. And the third vice will be Eric Joyce, council member for Madison, and that's the proposed slate of officers. So we just need someone to carry that ballot.
Well, since you're on there, I'm gonna make the nomination as Teresa to be the voting delegate for that.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Teresa. Next item would be 2A, and that's an authorization of a voting delegate for the GMA 2022 annual business meeting at the GMA convention held June 26, 2022 at 4 p.m.
You gonna be there all week? I'm gonna make a motion as David be the delegate and Teresa be the alternate, just in case you can't be there, she can be.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Item number 3 is a budget discussion continuation from our last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may recall at the last meeting, we presented all of the operational departments for the city, except for Public Works, and we also did not present the city boards and commissions. So tonight, we will present the recommendations for city boards and commissions, and then we'll turn it over to Public Works Director Robbie Groves, who will spend the rest of the night talking to City Council about what the recommendations are for Public Works budgets. Okay. So city boards and commissions are pretty straightforward. For the Historic Preservation Board, Tree Board, and Downtown Development Board, we left no changes in terms of what was in this year's budget. We gave the Historic Preservation Board $2,000 to basically spend as they wish for the year. Tree Board $5,000 to spend as they wish, although I understand that I think most of that goes towards tree pruning, a lot of it in the downtown. Also, we have the Downtown Development Board, no change, $3,000, again, to use as they please. The Cemetery Board, we do not actually have money allocated for them specifically as part of a cemetery board budget. Their costs are included in the public works budget as all that work is being done by staff. And so there's a $143,531 in the budget to address items at the cemetery. I know that in particular, some of the cemetery board's concerns were related to stones and fencing, and there is funding in the public works budgets to address both of those items. Okay. Library board, we're recommending a total budget of $151,879. This is an increase of $6,683, the majority of which is electricity, $5,800. Also, the city contribution, which is currently $124,297, is basically being recommended to stay the same, although we are rounding that up, $225,000, just to kind of make it easy in round numbers. We are recommending that other than that the library board budget remain the same this year for a couple of reasons. Number one of which, their request was for an increase of 22%. They submitted a budget request of $151,873.48. That is an increase of $27,576.48. So it's a 22% increase over what we've given them in the past. And they indicated to us that that was to take care of personnel costs, in particular raises, cost of living adjustments, and things of that nature. We are actually recommending that the city contribution remain at the $125,000 range for the simple reason that, nothing against the library board staff or anything like that, but at the end of the day, they're not city employees. We have no say in who's hired. We have no say in who's fired. They're not part of our organizational structure. And in addition, we do not participate in their evaluation process. And so therefore, we didn't think it was right for us to contribute to merit raises when we don't participate in their merit process. In addition, the amount that the city contributes to library board on a per capita basis is extremely generous when you compare it to other cities and counties that contribute to the library system. Based on the city's population, 4,974, that is a cost of $24.98 per person contribution for the existing $124,297 that we contribute for this year. Only Walton Grove is higher. Walton Grove is $37.82. They contribute $50,000, but they also have a population of 1,322. Beyond that, the per capita for Walton County is $4.04 per capita. For Monroe, $9.33 per capita. For Loganville, it's $12.74 per capita. So, and then you compare it with the other parties that are part of the system, and it ranges from $2.53 per citizen to $14.66. So $24.98 is we feel is very generous. And in addition, the city does not own that building. The city does not own that property. And we do contribute other budget-related items such as electricity costs, and we mow the grass over there. We pay the insurance costs. There's about $3,000 in there for books. There are some items in there that could be covered by the Stanton Trust Fund, in particular insurance and books. However, we are recommending that we continue to fund that through the general fund to allow the Stanton Trust to continue to grow. So that's what our recommendation is for the library board. And with that, I will turn it over to Robbie to talk about highways and streets.
Hello. This is for the highways and streets. We're requesting a new full-time street crew position and increasing in The increase in engineering is to assess drainage issues. Increase in repairs and maintenance is due to aging equipment. Decrease in road and maintenance contract due to only needing funds for striping. Increase in education and training is to allow CDL license for all city staff in the street department. Increase in education and training, well, I've done that one. Increase in contractual services is for contracting lawn care at City Hall, Friendship Park, Library, and the Roundabout. Also contracting out quarterly street sweeping, street and highway indexing, that's to assess our roads and sidewalks. Traffic light maintenance and culvert and sidewalk repairs. Increase in gas and diesel is due to rising costs. Increase in small equipment is to purchase more efficient equipment. The major capital items for the street department is we included a storm drainage assessment and to help improve storm drainage of $250,000. Then we have a Georgia Power Light project for downtown, and that's to put so we'll have receptacles on the lights. Chipper truck lease is $41,150 annually for 5 years. Leaf vac truck is $20,627 annually for 5 years. And that's to replace our aging equipment that we're constantly having repairs done on.
Okay, before we move on to cemetery, let me address the capital items here real quick. Storm drainage, right now in this year's budget, well, we were given money through ARPA, $225,000 through ARPA. That last year the council made a decision to allocate that towards broadband infrastructure for the downtown. It's staff's opinion that broadband infrastructure is probably going to take care of itself just with the fair market. As we continue to grow, you're going to get more companies that are going to come in that are going to be more interested in providing high-speed internet. Okay, and so one of the approved uses for ARPA funds is for stormwater drainage projects, and we have several that we've talked about over the course of the year that need some serious attention but don't have a funding source attached to them. And so we were recommending we actually reallocate that money away from broadband and put it towards addressing some of these drainage problems that we have. The Georgia Power Light project, that is for a retrofit of the existing poles downtown. They will keep the existing poles, change out the globes, and add receptacles so that we can then have lights throughout the year. Christmas especially, we had a lot of complaints this year for not having lights downtown for Christmas.
Well, let me ask you a question about that while we're right there. They always told us that the reason that they couldn't have receptacles was because of those fiberglass poles that's down there.
It's magic, I guess, because we've had numerous conversations with them, and we've talked about swapping out the poles, and we talked about retrofit. And actually, it was their idea to retrofit. So, if we wanted to, totally swap out the poles to make them more consistent with the other poles, you're talking, I think, about $175,000.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't believe you're going to get the receptacles when they go down there and look, because, they've looked before, and that's what they come up with.
They were there. They looked at it.
Well, they're there, but they won't let you use them.
Okay. Well, that was their recommendation. We've had numerous conversations with them to address the problem, and that was their solution to us. If we end up spending the money to retrofit the poles and they tell us we can't use the receptacles, then then we got to go back to them and get them to do the other poles at their cost, since we spent that money. That's just my opinion.
Eric,
in good faith.
Will this change the lamps to LED?
I believe so. And then the chipper truck and leaf vacuum truck, we're actually recommending that we finance these through the GMA lease pool. I know that we've done it in the past. The city has not done any capital leases through GMA recently, other than the fire truck. The fire truck is through the GMA lease pool. But this allows us to kind of spread the money around a little bit and allows us to address some major expensive capital needs, while also allowing us to do other work that's needed around the city. So the chipper truck, I think that was a $95,000 truck. Is that right?
Yes.
No, that can't be right for $41,000.
No, that was, the chipper was the 180,000, wasn't it?
188.
180.
Okay, and then the leaf vacuum truck. This is the what Councilman Jackson was asking us to look into, that will allow the leaf vacuum truck to operate more efficiently with just one person. And this would be a lease purchase over 5 years. Are there any other questions about the highways and streets budget before we move on?
Okay, that was, moving on to cemetery. Okay. Cemetery, we have an increase in repairs and maintenance of equipment due to straightening of headstones and cemetery repairs to the fence. And this was moved from capital line item to repairs and maintenance, so we can use it for other. And then the decrease in capital was due to the above explanation.
Any questions about cemetery?
Question is, so if we repair headstones, is that our property because it's on our property now? Or is it the person property who headstone it is?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would say a lot of times, especially some of those older headstones, you're not going to know who to contact.
Yeah.
Well, this is a perpetual care cemetery, so
That's
the
what I'm
city's
asking. So the
responsible.
city responsible for a headstone or anything, okay, once it gets there.
Yeah. Any other questions about cemetery? Wastewater treatment.
Okay, the increase in audit and accounting is due to expense for Gifa comfort letter required to obtain a Gifa funding. Increase in Cdbg admin fees is due to the application costs for the next grant we're currently working on, starting to work on. Increase in disposal due to increase of disposal costs for taking the sludge to the landfill. Increase in repairs and maintenance for equipment is due to aging equipment, and that's our pumps, that's all our lift stations and everything. Increase in contractual services is due to new EPD guidelines. The increase in general supplies and material is due to cost of treatment chemicals going up. And then we also, in the budget, I don't have it on the slide here, is we have it in there to reevaluate our wastewater master plan to help guide future infrastructure and growth, infrastructure improvement and growth.
Yeah, let me add on that one in particular, just for public transparency. What that means is the City Council adopted a master stormwater or a master sewer plan in 2018, and it projected out the growth of the city and the needed sewer infrastructure out to 2050. That projected out to approximately a city of size of about 9,000 in about 2050. And based on some of the growth that we're seeing around here, we think that that population figure will be exceeded before that time. And so, I'm not saying it's immediate or anything, but we think our growth is going to outpace that expectation. And we think that with some of the growth and phone calls that we're seeing, it's the responsible thing for us to do to kind of reevaluate the assumptions in that plan. So it's just a marginal increase over some of the work we've already done. Just kind of go back and reevaluating the assumptions. Although it does not change the need to do a new sewer treatment plant at 3.0 MGD. We know that needs to happen.
Okay, the wastewater treatment, major capital items and CDBG, Gifa projects for the next year. We wanted to get a commercial zero-turn mower so that the wastewater plant can keep their grass mowed, and besides that, their pump stations. And buy a new sewer camera so we don't have to constantly have to find a contractor to come in and sewer our lines. Continue the CDBG Mill Village project. Go for the next CDBG project for the Marco Tower Ronther. The Oak Street Sewer, this is all Gifa. Brickstone Pump Station elimination would be under Gifa. And some of these may or may not happen depending on the cost of the projects. We're trying to get the most for our money. The Carver Jersey Pump Station elimination, Gifa. Alley Sewer, Dogwood, Adams, Sycamore, Gifa. East High Tower to Little River Interceptor would be under Gifa. Hickory Drive would be Gifa. North Tower Sewer Replacement, it'd be Gifa. Ronther Fairplay Rehabilitation would be Gifa.
So all of the Gifa projects in the budget that we're recommending are already in this year's budget. So council's already decided to move forward on these in a previous year. This just continues that through next year.
Robbie, if I could ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but a lot of times we use acronyms that may or may not be familiar to our listening audience or someone viewing this. Can you explain Gifa and CDBG? I believe those are two acronyms you've used.
The CDBG is the Community Development Block Grant, and this year we'll be going for $1 million grant. And then the Gifa, you may have to help me on this, it's Georgia Environmental Finance Facilities Authority.
And that's a state agency that allows for low interest loans for municipal governments, city and county governments for that matter. I'm sure school boards are in there as well, to be able to access funds for water, wastewater type projects at a reasonable interest rate.
That's good. Thank you. Like I said, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I came out of an organization where we had a book 3 inches thick full of acronyms, and you had to look up everything to know what somebody was talking about. So thank you, Rob.
I get it. GDOT loves them.
So with the GBCD grant, would that cover several projects?
It's the CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant. It's only for media to low income areas. And we have to go for like a certain thing. It can be for drainage, it can be for sewer, and we have to prove the need to help improve their quality of life.
Okay.
And that's why we get out there and we knock on doors and do surveys. And then even if they're renters, we can go for that, we can get their information, but it has to be the property owner sign for our right-of-ways if we get the grant.
Okay.
Any more questions on that? The next one is the water treatment plant. The operational changes, there was an increase in audit and accounting due to expense for Gifa comfort letter required to obtain Gifa funding. A decrease in engineering due to the cost being included in the rehab project. Decrease in repairs and maintenance due to the cost being included in the rehab project. And an increase in water purchase for resale due to staffing limitations.
You want to explain what that is?
We have to buy a lot more water from Walton County because we don't have the staff to run like we used to out there. We have one new employee that is getting his license through a scholarship, and he will start on the 23rd. And so we won't have to pay for that or his training. We have to pay for his wages, but not his training. And then, so we're hoping by the time that we get all these repairs, we can have back to full staff. Because we currently had one person out there and they work 8 hours.
So, water treatment is tricky in that you can't hire just anybody off the street. For safety reasons, for homeland security reasons, you got to protect the water supply and who has access to it, right? And so, in order to work out there, you actually have to be licensed and certified to do that. And we've had some challenges in maintaining people. We've had 3 people that I know of in the 10 months that I've been here, probably more that I don't even know about, who have been, and either they couldn't pass the test or they decided it wasn't for them and they moved on. But what happens is that there's still a demand for water in the city, right? And you can't have one person working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So there comes a point of the day, until we are staffed up to the way we need to be, there comes a point in every day where, we go and, basically turn a valve and the water starts coming in from Walton County versus what we're treating from the river on our own site. And so that's what this increase is.
So how many people is full staff?
A total of 4.
4?
Mm-hmm.
We only have one right now.
We only have one.
She's been there a while. So, you talk about institutional knowledge, there's one right there.
And it is a lot of water treatment facilities.
A lot of chemistry, a lot of chemicals.
Is it an income thing?
Not so much, it's more so not able to pass the certification test. And the class 3 is the hardest one from what I hear. It's a lot of math. If you don't understand the math, then...
Have y'all thought about going back and talking to some of the folks that retired from down there to see if they would come back?
I mentioned that, and I actually reached out to one, but he said he was retired and happy.
So it's not a pay issue. It's more so
It could be. Look, and the work environment is not great, right? It's basically, there's a workspace in there, but you're basically, even though you got a roof over the top of your head, you're basically outdoors, right? With a bunch of wells and water treatment tanks everywhere.
It's damp, it's cold.
Yeah, absolutely. And, something goes wrong, you got to get wet.
I will tell you, one guy turned me down because of the pay. He did. He just flat said we didn't pay enough.
We did get the results of our salary survey back. I have not met with the person who did it yet. And I haven't really gone through it yet, but I would assume that this would be one that gets addressed in the salary survey. Because what happens is, I was told this probably the first day I started working here, is that this job in particular, we are a training ground for other counties.
Mm-hmm.
And cities.
So we have to do something with salary-wise because we're investing in them. We're training, but we're investing, so we got to figure out a way to keep them, because if we're spending money in Walton County, then we're still losing the money. We're just not losing in the salary.
Right. This is one that doesn't have an easy solution, unfortunately, I don't think. At the end of the day, it really comes down to the fact that you can't hire just anybody.
You would have some that failed tests,
Yes,
and they was good.
twice.
So how often can they take the test?
They can take it twice, I believe.
Yes, and they failed it both times.
Yes, no more.
They can, I think you can wait so long, I think it's a year. I'm not sure, I'd have to go back.
But it doesn't.
It may be 90 days.
It doesn't do us any good to have those kinds of, those people still here on staff, because,
No.
they can't be there by themselves. And if they didn't, if they didn't, if they didn't pass the test, what part of the test did they fail, and you want that person handling the water supply?
Okay.
I'll hit this one really quick on Robbie's behalf, because we've already done this one. As you may recall, a few months ago, the water treatment engineers came in here and presented to you about the need to basically swap out the water filters with the electrical side, and council actually adopted a 2-year budget at that point for $2.6 million. This is just a continuation of that. The scope of work doesn't change. And we met with them recently, and they're getting pretty close to being able to go out to bid for the actual construction phase of this.
I talked to him, and it's within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, water distribution, operational changes.
Before we go forward, let me ask the question. Is it not cheaper for us to make our own water than it is to buy it?
To make our own water? I mean, isn't that what we do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it not cheaper if we gave a salary to still, had to fix the salaries, would it still not be cheaper than what we're buying it for? What are we paying for the $1,000?
I guess I don't follow.
What are we paying $1,000 when we buy it from Walton County?
I do not have that information. I do know that Walton County cannot keep up with what we can run in a day's time, because we struggled with the tanks last night, and my alarm on my phone kept going off because of the low tanks. Let me know they were getting...
Can you still take water from Newton County?
We only have the one, and that's the Walton County valve right now. I mean, we'd have to go like...
Well, they were supposed to install one down there on 278 at one time, and we were supposed to be able to take water there.
We're not tied into that yet. That may be in the...
No, we were supposed to be tied into it a long time ago.
That was about.
That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know.
You talking right there at Social Circle Road?
I'm talking about right there at I-20 and 278. There's supposed to be a water valve there. We were supposed to be able to take water from them, and that was in the agreement when we started taking the sewer from, when we run the sewer and all down there. That's
something I'd have to look into.
We could check to see if that's in place.
But I'd like to see what it cost us to make 1,000 and what we buying 1,000 for.
Okay.
But you're saying that Walton County can't keep up with the need?
No, not, in the winter time when it's low, but when people's out watering their gardens, watering their grass and washing cars, our tanks struggle.
Can I make another request here?
Sure.
The City of Monroe at one time offered to sell us water. Can you talk to them and see if that offer still stands?
Sure.
Because they did.
When was that?
They're doing that with Loganville.
When was that conversation had?
That's been, what, a couple years ago, David?
3 years. Yeah. And you're right, they ran that line out to Highway 78 for Loganville.
We'll follow up on that, on both of those. All three, actually.
Okay, water.
Any other questions about that? Okay.
Water distribution, operational changes. We're requesting a new water distribution technician to shadow the long-term personnel that are looking to retire. Increase in audit and accounting due to expense for Gifa comfort letter required to obtain Gifa funding. Increase in software, hardware support due to expenses for utility features being transferred to utility departments versus the general fund. Increase in dues and fees due to cost of utility billing printing being transferred from general fund. Increase in contractual services due to GIS mapping annual costs, hydrant maintenance agreement, and stormwater assessment. And then we also, which is not on there, is to reevaluate the water distribution master plan and model to help guide future infrastructure improvements and growth. It's basically the same thing we is going to do for the sewer.
So I want to specifically address the stormwater assessment, because I have seen talk out there in Facebook world about us implementing a stormwater fee. That is not what we're talking about right now, okay? We are not at that point yet. What we are recommending right now is have somebody like we've done with the sewer and the water systems and the gas systems, and have some kind of come in and give a full-blown assessment of our stormwater situation here. I know anecdotally, because you know, all 5 of you call me every time it rains. You know, we all know that there are stormwater drainage issues in Social Circle. I think everybody who lives here knows that. But we don't know the extent of it. And so what we're recommending is having somebody come in here and do an independent assessment and tell us what we're talking about. You know, what is the condition of our stormwater? Prioritize, you know, some of the more critical items. And also we would ask them to tie in possible funding sources for that. That would be independent of a stormwater utility if that's you know, what we decide to do. What we would also do is, as part of the assessment, we would have the person kind of start the research, you know, just so we know what it would take to do utility. I'm not saying we would do it, but we would have an idea of what the problem is, how much it's going to cost, and what our funding options are, whether it be general fund, grants, loans, or utility. So I've seen, I want to be clear on what we're recommending on that right now, because yes, stormwater utility is an option. In my opinion, it is a very good option. Every city I've ever worked for has one, and you know, that's a dedicated funding source that you're not using general fund money for. You can spend general fund money on other stuff. That's not what we're talking about at this point.
You're talking about money to have the model of the water system redone. Have we updated the model of the water system since we had it modeled?
Not since 2018.
So all the work we've done, we don't know what it done.
Right.
I think one of the key factors we need to consider as we reassess that master plan is similar to what we were talking about a while ago with water capacity, right? I mean, you know, the Alcovy River is only has so much water in it. And you know, it's something that the county is dealing with. You know, I'm not trying to put any fear or anybody, but it's something we have to be prepared for about, you know, what long-term, what our water source is. And that's would be part of this assessment.
And to Steve's point, if I understand what you said correctly, Steve, that's it does seem like in the past we've paid money, good money, for items to be addressed. The GIS, they came and located water and gas and all of that, and we had a nice little system. And to my knowledge, we're not either using that anymore or it's outdated. So if we're going to spend money on stuff, let's be sure that we spend it and then continue that process and not let it die to where we have to do it again in 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Well, I think that what our plan was, and we modeled them, was when we done those improvements, was to go back and have to see what it done.
Mm-hmm.
But
where we need to move.
Where we need to move to from there. And if we just keep doing the improvements, how do we know that we ain't still negatively affecting something that we thought we were fixing?
Yeah, and I think reassessing the system would accomplish that, you know. But it would go in and
It needs
look.
to be a yearly thing. It doesn't need to be a 5-year thing.
Yes.
As we make the improvements, it needs to be remodeled.
Yep.
Just like water tank maintenance.
Yep. Understood. Moving on to water distribution capital.
Water distribution, major capital items, and Gifa projects. We have in here to replace the case backhoe, but actually, we don't want to replace it. We would like to add one with a longer reach, and because the two different departments stand around waiting on the other one to get done with it. So we have had that happen before. And that would be a split with gas department for $47,500. And then replace the water distribution utility truck for $90,000. And
We'll pay cash for that. That's not financed.
yeah.
Yes, the only thing we're financing are the two items discussed earlier.
The backhoe, you say a split, are they both paying 47.5?
Mm-hmm.
I was fixing to say, if they mind backhoes for 47.5, I want to buy some.
We found one, but if it's still available for that price. The Brickstone valve replacement would be under Gifa. Social Circle Parkway 12-inch water main from East High Tower to Thurman Bacchus, and that's south on the Parkway. South Cherokee to Spring Street 12-inch water main connection. Annual water main galvanized line replacement. Fire hydrant replacement and repair. And the Clover Drive to Windsong main. That's phase 1, and that's CRC funds.
The South Cherokee and Spring Street, is that going all the way to the tank, or is that just,
Yes,
okay?
yes. And that Thurman Bacchus is the one that we are going out there for that church and try to get other,
We're gonna loop it though, right?
Yes.
Tied into what's already existing on Thurman Bacchus?
the way I was told when they looked at trying to get the right gallons per minute for the sprinkler system, when Jimmy Parker looked at it, we need to come from East High Tower down the bypass and go to Thurman Bacchus, and then we'll go in. But I think we probably, if we can get it, but the cost is what's scaring us right now, go all the way back to East High Tower.
How far is that, Steve? to tie?
There's the water line comes all the way to about halfway between High Tower and the curve.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 6-inch line there.
And, you know, just to remind all 5 of you, this is one that actually has a revenue source tied to it once we get a signature on a contract.
Work on that, Jay, would you?
Jay's doing his best, believe me. Any other questions about capital projects for water? Okay.
Okay, gas department operational changes. There was an increase in audit account and accounting due to audit costs, 1/3 for annual comprehensive financial reporting, not budgeted in prior year. Increase in education and training due to PSC requirements. Increase in contractual services due to PSC requirements. Increase in gas purchase for resale due to sales projections from MGAG.
Move on, capital. Go ahead.
Okay. Gas department major capital items and projects. Of course, this is the backhoe that was split with water distribution. Replace a gas truck. It's 4x4 diesel F350 with a utility bed. New residential services, Alcova Drive and Spring Street neighborhood. Alcova Drive gas project, it's a pressure and a capacity increase. East High Tower Trail gas project, pressure and capacity increase. Complete installation of the ERTs for the radio reads, which is the radio transmitters. Preparation for future growth.
On the ERTs, you made me think, how close are we being through with the water and the gas meters?
Good question. I ask that all the time myself.
We ran into, and I'm in the hot seat again. We ran into some software issues with it uploading and trying to get software, Tyler, our IT, and the person that programs the ERTs for us all together. It's been a challenge, but we finally got the issues worked with our software, uploading our reads, because we got a test one now, because we don't want to put them all in there and then we end up like DeKalb County, be in the news. So we want to make sure they're right, so we finally got them to get the test site up, and I worked with them for a whole week, just pulling my hair out trying to get them. And we are there, and we will be, the week of the 6th, we'll be trying to do a comparison. The only thing is the gas department, they got really busy, and they've been trying to put the ERTs on. They're a little bit behind on theirs. But the water meters, we can go ahead and radio read.
All of them do.
All of them but the big meters.
They have already been, so say there's 2,200 customers. How many meters have you installed?
We've installed, all the residential is done.
Okay.
The only thing that we have not done is the industries and any of them that's got a 2-inch meter. We've done all the 5/8 and the 1-inch meters.
Any other questions about gas? Okay, well, that concludes the presentation for tonight. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, Rob.
That's why we do that on one night.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is I'm going to call the public hearing to order. This is an opportunity for comments on the budget presentation that you just heard. First off, I will call for those in favor. Secondly, for any of those that might be in opposition. Each one of those groups will be allowed 10 minutes to speak, and that is per group. If you think you have one spokesperson that needs all of that time, then I recommend that person to be the one to get up and speak. Otherwise, you need to segment it to where you can fit it within the 10 minutes. So I'll first ask for anyone that's here to speak in favor of the budget presentation that you just heard.
Or the budget in general.
Or the budget in general. Hearing and seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition of the budget presentation? Please come to the podium, state your name first, please.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Brown, and I'm here representing the Board of Trustees for the W.H. Stanton Memorial Library. And I first want to thank you for funding our library. We couldn't do it without the city's support. It is a hometown city library, and we get support from not only the city of Social Circle, but also Walton County. And we do get state support in a lot of the services that we're able to provide the citizens of Social Circle. I do understand that it is quite an increase for staff, but they have not had a cost of living increase since I've been with the system, which is 4 years. I don't believe they've had one in 6 years. So we're just trying to get our staff up to a living wage. We don't want to lose the staff that we have right now. We just won Library of the Year, and that was a great recognition from the state for the job well done by our team. And so I just wanted to just ask you to please reconsider our request in some form or fashion. If you don't think the budget can allow what we've asked, it would be nice to get some sort of increase for our staff. And that being said, we respect the decision of the city council. So whatever you decide, we will go with that and work with that and carry on. But I do want you to know that we do appreciate what you do for us and how you fund us, but I would like for you to reconsider this cost of living increase for our staff. We are having some issues with retention across the board, like everybody is. It's the great resignation, and we've definitely felt it. So, but we do have some employees that have been with us a really long time. Janice McPherson has been with the library over 15 years, and Amy, who is our manager, has been with the library since we were able to build our new library prior to COVID. So I appreciate your time, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. All right, there's still a balance of 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition?
Hi, I'm Ashley Johnson. I too am on the Board of Trustees of the library. I know that as the library is not employed by the city, the employees there are not, but it is something that the city can boast that we have this incredible library. I know that I have personally seen so much growth there. It was mentioned that Walnut Grove is the only library with more per capita funding, but we took their manager. So I think that that says something about our library, and that we would like to retain her. And I know that per capita, the increase that we have asked for is actually less than $7 per person, if you look at it that way. While yes, it is a significant amount compared to the other libraries, Loganville and Monroe Library are not nearly as well staffed or as offering as many services as our library. I know that we have, the play card, and we have, tutor.com, things like that. And I know that those things are not necessarily offered from the other libraries. So you do see a reflection of that money. You see the fact that we are one of the higher paying as our community paying. And I would hate to lose the staff that we have there because of all that they've done, and because they are how we have achieved what we've achieved there, winning the award of Library of the Year. And so, like she said, we're very appreciative of the funds that we do have. It's mostly city and county that funds us, so therefore that's where we have to come to request this. And for them to have not had a COLA in 6 years speaks, I think, volumes. So I would definitely ask that it's reconsidered, even if it's not met totally at the request, but some things that can be sustainable so that we can have a cost of living increase for the staff. And then I know that the American Recovery Fund was something that was mentioned, that there are funds that y'all are trying to reallocate there. If even some of that could be allocated for the library, just something to help us get where we need to be. But I thank you for your time, and I hope that y'all will reconsider.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Balance of about 4.5 minutes if anyone else would like to speak. All right. Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. There is no requirement for a vote this afternoon. This was simply a presentation of the budget to the public and consideration by the council. That being said, I don't know of an executive session requirement this afternoon. Excuse me, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.